So thank you so much for doing this. I started this podcast basically. Was very reluctant to do it, even though I've wanted to do it for a long time, to do a podcast, basically, because I just find myself wanting to share a lot of things, and I love talking to my friends and other people, but really about the life journey, our life experiences, and specifically, in terms of being a multi-passionate individual, but living like an unconventional life, and I feel very grateful that I have people like you in my life, and have interesting takes on life, interesting insight and input, and just a different life experience. I think that, at least for me, I know I've never really lived, I've come close to some convention here and there, but I really love to highlight unconventional perspectives for myself, for friends and other people. Mainly, I think that we're given so many messages in our culture that are counterproductive to us living really true, meaningful lives. And I won't be having kids. I don't have kids, so it's kind of, I think more and more as I get older, I'm like, these are the things that I would pass along. But I've really sort of stepped into the aunt, big sister kind of role, and which I love. So it's fun to like pass those things along. So I wanted to talk to you because we haven't really had a chance to like delve in too deeply in general. We've talked like at open mats a bunch and things like that, but I very much resonate with you and how you interact with the world through your writing. Your writing is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have a very special writing gift for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. And obviously I respect the fuck out of you as a martial artist. I didn't grow up with a lot of women martial artists, not like a ton, especially like not like in my age cohort. And talking to you a couple times, I was like, oh, like I just recognized certain things in there. So yeah, so welcome, Erin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So can I just kind of like start from the beginning of where you came from, how you came to be where you're at right now, and you just share as much as you want.
Yeah, for sure. I guess we'll start with like my jiu-jitsu story.
Yeah.
My dad put me into jiu-jitsu when I was 9. Me and my 2 sisters, so we were like 9, 7, and 5. And his whole purpose in life is to keep us safe and like help us to stay safe. So lots of interesting things with that. But I'm super grateful for the jiu-jitsu piece. We started at a time when jiu-jitsu wasn't like super common for women. I think we were the only girls in our class, and lots of interesting times just working like only with boys and being in like a very, very male-dominated environment. I had a female coach, which sounds like it would have been really cool. She was very mean and aggressive and would just beat the shit out of me until I was like, please stop. But I've had like a chip on my shoulder since I was a kid, so like I excelled in that. I was like, well, I can do this. My sisters no longer train, which is fine. But yeah, so that was kind of my, like, I've done jiu-jitsu since then. I think some of the unconventional stuff with my life definitely comes from that. Just feeling like I had to prove myself in like a very male-dominated space, but also like enjoying that grind of wanting to do that, Mm-hmm. But other parts of my life have been super conventional, like very religious background. I went to a religious school. I wanted to go to like med school, like very, very traditional, like go to school, get like a really good job. I became a nurse and worked as a nurse during COVID. And that's kind of when it all hit me, like, do I have to do this with my life? Like, do I have to like work a 9-to-5 job? Or I guess it was a 12-hour shift job as a nurse. But I got so burned out working as a nurse during COVID and was getting like migraines every week, just super awful. And I'm the type of person who doesn't like to quit anything, like very perfectionist. And so to step away from that was this big kind of like transformative, like, okay, I don't have to do this anymore. I can let go of something that's not serving me and try new things. And that was also a point in my life when I kind of reevaluated my religious practice and have found a much more like happy kind of middle of the road that works for me and allows me to still commune with my God in a much healthier way. Mm-hmm. So that was a very, like, I think transformative point in my life. Mm-hmm. But since then, I help run our school with my husband. So we run our martial arts school. And then I do dry needling for a chiropractor, which has been really awesome to still get to use some of that like healing skills and be hands-on with people. That's been very like healing for myself. But it's in a much healthier environment and only a few hours a week. So, I never thought I would juggle multiple jobs and have kind of like a different non-traditional job, but like so much happier for it. And I think it fits my personality so much more because I like to do a million things. Like I wish I could live a million lives and have so many different careers. Like I wish I could
so much,
like go back to school for like every degree, and I can't do that, but having like a lot of different projects has been really fun, and I'm interested. At some point I would love to like pursue writing as like a full-time thing. Like there's a lot of things I'd like to do, so being able to let go of that, like I have to work a regular job, has been nice. My husband does work a regular job too, so there's a lot of flexibility that comes because of him that I wouldn't have otherwise. So
I mean, that's
grateful for that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not always as easy just to be like, I just want to do whatever. Yeah. But that kind of is why I want to share this. It's like, how do you practically, like, I think I listen to so many, things about, like, I ran my own business for a while and was always listening to people be like, I did this side hustle and then it turned into the blah, 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 blah. And there wasn't always discussion about, like, the how of how they did that. Like, did they have a spouse that supported, or were their parents super supportive, or did they have money saved up from something else? And the logistical side of things that I definitely did not, like, really pay attention to until later and was like, oh, whoops,
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. Like, having that support, both obviously just the practical side of it, but really that emotional side of it too, to have a partner who's like, okay, I see you needing to shift and change, and I got you, is like huge.
Yeah, so huge. I mean, he wanted me to quit for a long time. I think he grew up with parents that had like some non-traditional jobs. Like his mom ran multiple businesses, so he was very open to that idea of trying different things. And my dad's an attorney and my mom's a stay-at-home mom, so it was very like there's like one way to do things, and if it looks different, you're probably doing something wrong. But yeah, like having a partner who was like, no, this works. Like I want you to be happy and healthy, and I still work just as much, if not more, than I did before with a nursing job. They're just happier hours for me.
Yeah.
Than before.
Yeah, it's different in that sense, right? Like, again, go to like a cultural kind of thing. Like, I know my mom's was a doctor, so, and it was like, I considered being a nurse, I considered being a doctor, I got my master's in nutrition and herbalism kind of as my answer to that. But, I think I'm hearing a similar, like, I feel like I have to make sure I've worked hard and done a good job, and like, have I pushed the limit and the edge of whatever I'm doing to make sure I'm like really nailing that? Which I know personally I still have a complicated relationship with that, because it's like, Matt and I, when we did our like podcast episode, talked a lot about like restructuring the hours and the sustainability of things. So finding that sustainability and making that the goal. Which can include really hard work and dedicated work, especially if you have something you're really passionate about and you really care about. You're just going to kind of put that work in regardless, but it takes away the need to put that value placement on yourself because of the hard work, right? Like it's more about how sustainable is this life, and I'm too existential maybe sometimes, but I don't know, I always come back to like, when I'm on my deathbed, like, am I going to be like, how hard did I work, or how thoroughly and how much did I really soak up my life? So I think that sustainability mindset helps go back to the truly being present. Oh, Zane. You want to come sit up here?
You can come sit.
Yeah, I think it helps with the essence of your life, to be understanding like the hard work is not our value, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
No, totally. It was hard for me to, like, sometimes I still count up how many hours I work in the day because I'm like, I should be working at least 8 hours a day, if not 10 hours a day. It's like, no, it's that doesn't mean anything, you know, especially, like, if I can do the work faster, like, who cares? Or I take a nap every single day. That's, like, my self-care.
I love that.
But we also, like, we teach morning classes, like, pretty early most days of the week, or, like, we train really early, and then we're at the gym until, you know, like, 9 at night. And so it's this weird, like, spreading of my days. So, like, from, like, 2 to 3 every day, I'm, like, in bed, and I shut my brain down, and I still fight with, like, the guilt over, like, I could be doing something productive with that time, and it's like, this is very productive. Like, me resting, me dreaming, like, connecting with myself in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard to overcome the idea that we need to be working, like, a certain amount to be functioning members of society.
Sir.
Oh, yeah, you're like
No. That's not yours. That's not yours. That's not yours. He's a raccoon in a cat's body.
I love it.
Yeah. Hey, can we just be cool?
It's like, I should be on camera.
I know.
Don't you know I'm beautiful?
I know. You too should. You should. Oh my goodness. All right, can you?
Hi.
You can lay here, but I need you to
can hang out.
lay down though. Thank you for being cool with him.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I love animals.
Yeah, I mean he's.
I want to go to the zoo every weekend.
Oh.
Like, can we please go to the zoo again?
Oh, we haven't been yet. I heard that the Cheyenne Zoo got like the best ratings.
Have you not been?
No.
Oh my gosh, you would love
I have
it.
a hard time with zoos.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
fair.
but
fair.
yeah, I have a hard time. I remember a boyfriend in high school took me to the zoo in Wilmington, which is not
a great zoo.
it's not a great zoo, and I cried, and he was like, "Why are you crying? I thought you loved animals." And I was like, "I mean, that zoo is yeah. I've heard that the Cheyenne's amazing though. So
yeah, no, but I mean, it is. Yeah, seeing animals in cages, it's a.
Like if it's a rehab, I have an easier time.
And a lot of them are.
Have
been like saved and rehabbed.
Yeah, like if it's, I understand that you know, I just always, I'm like, it's too, I don't know. I just start going, I'm like, what are they feeling? Fish, I have a hard time with fish tanks. I have a hard time. I like see the fish and I'm like, don't you feel like you're stuck? Yeah.
Yes, no, I'm sure. The gorillas are the hardest.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You can tell they're like.
They're just like, I want to go do
what am I doing here?
Yeah, yeah.
They have a little goat area, though, and the goats, like, can go up this ramp, and at the top of the ramp, there's a wheel, so you put treats in the bucket, and they push the wheel, and the treats come up into their mouth. It's awesome.
Oh my god, it's awesome.
So
I love goats.
Yeah.
I did goat yoga once, which I didn't really do any yoga. I just played with baby goats. Yeah. I was like, this is great. I love these baby goats. They're so cute. Yeah, I definitely think, like, that hard work. I mean, that's actually something... Again, I feel those are the kinds of things that I really do like to shed some light on, especially for like, you know. I mean, I say women. I think so many in our culture feel that way, but I definitely I know personally so many women that work very hard on ourselves. We want to be very hardworking. We want to get things done well. I mean, even teaching a women's class for jiu-jitsu, I pretty much lead anytime anybody's new. I'm like, I want you just to know that you can be messy here. I want you to let it just be a mess. You're going to get reps in. You're going to not know what's going on. You're learning a language. Just like, let yourself fuck it up. Let yourself just like be terrible at it. And then you'll get more reps. We'll work things. It'll start getting in your body. And that's how you're going to like see that progress. And then I always, of course, bring it back to life. I'm like, and that's kind of, you know, a really good approach in life. Obviously, depending on what you're working on, you can't let everything be a mess. But to have that approach where you're just like, I don't need to do this perfectly the first time. And I think I'll say for me, I feel like a lot of things came in terms of like doing physical things in particular, but some other things like came easier in a way that it made it harder for me to mess up anywhere else. And I especially feel that learning new things in martial arts, like I'm trying to learn how to do better throws, and I just want to be really bad at it right now, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, you just let me be really bad at it and not expect me to do it like how I know I'm going to do it, but I have to just suck at it right now and then let it get better from there. Where younger me would have just tried to do it as best I could, but probably hurt myself or hurt somebody else in the process trying to throw them super hard, you know?
No, it's hard. I think it's that's like a beautiful preface to your class. I really like that. But I think it's so hard, especially as an adult, to start a new sport, because most like adults haven't tried like a new huge physical activity since they were a kid, especially not a competitive one. Like maybe you go rock climbing or like you try mountain biking, but very few people, I think, jump into a sport in their 30s and then are like, I'm going to compete in this, like, and then add on the emotional layer of someone. It feels like someone's trying to hurt you, and they are actually, right? There's consent involved, but someone is trying to break your arm,
right?
And there's like so many levels. Layers to that of wanting to be good at something, and then the fear involved, and like the survival instinct. Like I think it's a lot to work through, but seeing adults be willing to be bad at something, because then as an adult you don't have to anymore. Most of the time you have your career already, like you've gone through school. It's pretty cool. I think it's an awesome practice for that.
I definitely give so much credit. Yeah, like I mean, you and I both grew up doing martial arts. Like I started at 15 with like, I say taekwondo, but it was we did some of the taekwondo kicks and katas, but I basically started doing Krav right after that. So I was like, so I probably started Krav at 16, and similar, all mostly men, and just like it is easier in that, like we kind of know, we've been to a million gyms, we've been to a million experiences with that environment. I'm probably more at ease in a gym than most places that most normal adults are comfortable in.
Same.
I'm like,
I will talk to strangers in a gym, and I will never talk to strangers outside of
100%. Yeah. I'm like,
sure.
No, stay away from me. But,
especially women.
Yes, especially, exactly. But definitely it's inspiring and just awesome to see, I think, how many women in general, like I didn't grow up with training with women, you didn't grow up training with women, at least not really. And now having it be something that's like reached the zeitgeist, sort of like there's so many who are interested and are getting in there, and the spirit, like I get so excited every time I see the women just like going for it, and have that like fire. I'm like,
there's so much aggression stored that I think a lot of women don't know that they have, that needs to come out. My favorite right now, we have a group of 5 or 6 like preteen girls that come to the adult class, and I remember that was the hardest transition for me, was going from being a kid to like 16, like so like 12 to 16. I did not want to train. I was like, do not touch me, I'm growing boobs, like, and it was only older guys that I had to work with, I just hated it, and I only went because my dad made me. And then once I was 16, I was like, okay, like I feel comfortable with myself. But getting to see them, like 11, 12, 13-year-olds, they're so awkward and shy, and they don't talk to each other, but they fight each other, and they drill together, and supposedly they like each other. That's what their parents say. Right. They're so shy, I can't tell. But we have a bunch of them competing this weekend together, and I'm so excited for them to have that little community, and I don't think they know like how special it is. And how rare it is too, like especially having that age group of girls. It's just not super common in jiu-jitsu still. Yeah, to have that little age group.
Yeah, so. it's a funny age right there, right? Like you said, because everybody kind of matures a little bit differently in that time. So you might have like a little bit of a gap in that sense. Yeah, but it definitely, and I think especially for the girls, right? Like, and that's what's fun on our part, is to cultivate that like healthy environment. Like we're all going to be cool to each other, and like. You want to lift each other up, but, scrap, but then be like, hell yeah.
Fight in a good way. You have to fight each other.
Yeah. It's like, instead of having brothers, I always wanted brothers, so I'm like, I always joke I have like 40 brothers now, because I'm just like, I want to fight all of you, but, I have a sister, but we didn't ever really like roughhouse or anything like that, so the girls who I do train with, a couple of them are in particular who are like, super feisty in a way that I love them so much. I'm like, I don't know if they... obviously they're still learning a lot more than I'm showing them, but I'm like, this is so fun, isn't it? I'm like, get off of me. I'm like, but aren't you having fun?
The first time they learn a choke, they're like, and I'm like, was it awesome? No? Okay, that's all right.
It will be. It will be. Just later. Stick with it. Yeah. Oh, man, are you flirting? Yeah.
Got this cozy little arm hanging off.
He just wants to be a part of things. He's so cute.
So sweet. The paws are so cute.
I love that your dad was like, you guys have to learn this. I feel like that was really smart of him,
Yeah, no, for sure. yeah, my one sister still super hates that she was forced to do it. She like resents it pretty well, which is totally fine. You know, she can do that. But I think for the most part, getting your kids in martial arts, like, you just carry yourself with a different level of confidence. And yeah, I mean, I think it changed my life, and just like the body awareness it gives you too. Like, there's so much that comes with that. I think it's a lot easier now to have your girls in martial arts than it was back then too.
Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up and wanting to get into martial arts, but I thought that I had to start at like 3 or 4 years. Like, I had thought, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I remember when I started with my instructor growing up, I was 15. I took their like Taibo class or whatever, you know, like bag class, and I was like beating the shit out of it. He was like, "Are you okay?" I was like
no.
I loved, still love Terminator 2 and like Sarah Connor, even though now as an adult when I watch it, I'm like, ooh, she's got some, we need to like nervous system.
Oh yeah.
But
the shotgun.
Yeah, she was my hero. Like, her and a couple, I was like, she's a fucking badass. I want to do that. Like, if anyone ever touches me or messes with me. So I asked my instructor, and I was like, I'd really like to start martial arts, but, you know, do I have to start? Like, I'll start with the kids. And he was like, what?
No, you're...
He's like, we have a teen class. I was like, I thought I had to, like, do it from birth to be able to do it, you know? And he was like, no. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I'm ready, you know? So, yeah, like, I think, like you're saying, in terms of the value it adds to life, and this is something that Matt and I always talk about, it adds, martial arts in general adds so much value to our lives, just even in the way that we learn how to move from one goal to another goal in again, I go back to the sustainable way, in a way that's like not going to, you can't rush it, I guess, right? Like, you can either show up for the process, and it's going to take the time that it's going to take to get to the next belt or learn a new thing or get it in your body. So it can take longer in some ways, but you can't, like, there's no shortcut, right?
No, you have to learn it.
Yeah, you have to just, like, show up and get the reps in and get the mat time in and that experience for it to, like, get in your body. And I think that it's taught me, I know for the past couple of years in particular, where I had some goals that I'm trying to reach and, like, things I'm trying to work through in terms of challenges, and having that slow and steady approach helped me figure out how to do it in a way that I'm actually making progress way different than I would have before. And this is mostly, I think jiu-jitsu has taught me these lessons more than any other. Like, doing Krav is very, that is a bit more immediate gratification, explosive. You know, you're trying to train people in like 6 months and just get them like aggressive.
They're not going to train forever.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if they do, they're going to leave Krav and go on to something else like I did. So, which is, I love that, and that's a great path. But it's, in that sense, it's wonderful. You know, you're just like, do not quit. That's really it.
Yeah.
Like, do not quit and fight for yourself.
For sure.
Here's some places to like hit people. But yeah, specifically with jiu-jitsu, it's like such a slow burn in that way that it really helps. If you think about it in terms of life, at least that's, again, when I'm teaching the girls, I'm like, and also like life. And they sort of laugh at the end, because I'm like, when you approach this, you can do it just like that in life, and it'll work the same in that way. You know, you'll make that progress. You'll give yourself stripes, or however you want to measure your time and input. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's just in my body now, or like I've reached that place, you know?
Yeah.
What was the, like, I know you said during COVID, where were you nursing? Like, were you in...
like the city, or...
Yeah, like, tell me about your nursing experience.
Yeah, so I was here, I was at St. Francis. Okay. I graduated nursing school October 2019. Okay. And so I started working that fall, and then we had our first COVID patient in March. So you do like 3 months of training with another nurse. So I think I was on my own for like 2 months before, we started having
oh wow, so you were like,
patients.
You literally, that was your initiation into it. Wow.
Yeah, which I've heard from other nurses that were there before, like, nursing wasn't always like this.
Yeah.
I don't think it's, people might disagree with me, I don't think it's a positive profession. I don't think it's been a positive profession for a long time, just the way that healthcare workers are treated, right? But I think it was more positive before COVID. COVID, like, I think exposed a lot of the holes in the system, like not feeling supported by management, not being paid very well. Colorado is like one of the lowest states for like cost of living versus nursing wage. And not having equipment, like there was just a lot of like, okay, you guys are sharing gowns and we even had to share masks for like 2 days, which was disgusting. Like,
yeah, which isn't, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, the first COVID patient I had, we only had a couple of like the PAPRs, like the big space helmet thingies, and we didn't have one on our floor. They had them all in the ER, and our nurse manager was like, oh, you can just go in there without one. And thankfully my charge nurse was like, hell no, like, do not go in that room.
Yeah.
And she went and like stole one of them and gave him. So it was just like, yeah, just like the total lack of support. And the whole thing was crazy. Obviously, no one knew what was happening, right? But yeah, I definitely think it exposed like, okay, your management doesn't really care about you. The hospital doesn't care about you. Yeah, the one positive thing, like I so loved the nurses that I worked with. Like such a come together moment for everyone. Just have to rely on each other. Like the girls that I worked with, I feel really grateful to and have some like really good memories with them.
Yeah, especially going through something like that together.
Yeah, very traumatic. Like we were all traumatized together. So the hospital is just not set up for. It saves your life, but it doesn't like promote healing. You know what I mean? You wake up this person every 2 hours to. No one sleeps in the hospital. Right. My patients would be like, don't you let us sleep? It's like, no, sorry, we don't. So getting to do another form of healthcare has been really nice. I see the same people over and again. I get to talk to them. I get to do something healing that they notice, like immediate effects. And it's not just medication. It's, getting their muscles to work correctly. And obviously saving a life is super life-changing. And I loved getting to help with that. That was really awesome. But getting to improve someone's quality of life in huge ways, like chronic back pain goes away, getting to do your sport again that you love, like really, really awesome things for that. So
yeah, I actually had dry needling done for the first time this year, and I just learned about it to that extent. Yeah, because like I obviously love alternative modes of healing, and again, I have a very integrative approach, having a mom as a doctor, and I've said this before in other episodes, but there's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah, totally.
It's like knowing that, it's like, I think that the Western model just shouldn't be regarded as the only thing, right? It's like they can do the more acute care for sure, right? Things that are like, my arm is falling off, or, like I have this emergency situation, and we need those things. So I think that when people get mad like when people are like, fuck the Western medicine, I understand that sentiment a lot, but I think that, it's more just that don't, excuse me, sir, that's not yours. He's like, everything's mine.
Everything is mine.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Man. Yeah, so I do interviews and I work a little bit. I do like social media for a company that they do chiropractic and functional medicine, and one of the chiropractors there does dry needling. So I got to experience and learn about it a little bit. Yeah. But like, I'd love to hear from your perspective, like what got you interested in dry needling specifically, and like.
So I've been seeing my chiropractor for a couple of years, and they started introducing dry needling, and I was one of their like sponsored people for jiu-jitsu, so I was getting free treatment, and they were like, you should try this. I was like, I don't want you to stab me with needles. That sounds awful. Because I'd seen one of my friends get it done, and she had like the electrodes attached and her muscles were like jumping, and I was like, no, I'm good. But they wore me down, so I finally tried it, and I think I had it done like every week for a couple of years. So I've had like every part of my body needled. And it fixed some of my chronic back pain that I'd been dealing with. One of the really cool things about it is it kind of like rewires your nervous system a little bit. So sometimes our body just stores pain in an area for no reason, really. There's no injury there anymore. Or maybe you had an injury in the past, but you've actually healed, but your body still thinks it's injured.
It's like a nervous system scar?
Yeah, you could call it like that. So, yeah, I'm not going to use all the technical terms for it because I don't understand all the tiny mechanisms, right? But basically, the needles help clear that out. So, for some reason, my low back decided it was hurting, and after getting that done a few times, like, it's not anymore. I tore my shoulder in a tournament a few years ago, and we rehabbed it with needling and physical therapy. So yeah, really big fan, like, for my own body. And so about a year and a half ago, my chiropractor asked me if I was interested in, like, getting certified to do that. And so I went and took, I think it's, how many hours? 50 hours of in-person training that you do. And it's open to, like, chiropractors, physical therapists, athletic trainers. I was the only nurse in my class. It's a little, like, less known for nurses to do it, but I have to do it, like, under a bigger license. So yeah, it's been really interesting to learn, like, different body systems and learn the muscles more in depthly, because as a nurse you don't learn, like, I don't need to know which exact muscle for a lot of things. But yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it.
That's so cool.
It's been a cool thing.
Yeah, I definitely experienced a lot of relief. I like I said, had the one treatment, but when I first got Lyme disease back when I was like 20, I should say, like, when I was 22, I finally, like, I was through whatever. I was starting to seek other methods to help me because I was not getting the help I wanted, and I found an acupuncturist, and so yeah, same. I know they're not, like, the same, but I feel like they kind of work in a similar.
They do,
like, meridians, and yeah. And that changed my life. Like, that was really, especially at that time, that got me back on my feet.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I've always been, I actually was like, of course, I was like, I want to do this, I was like, that was life-changing. Like, I want
to participate in this now.
Yeah, exactly. And then when did you guys start Iron Roots?
We started 2020.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, we bought a house and we signed our lease for the building, like, 2 weeks before COVID hit. It was crazy. We didn't know that was going to happen, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have started it right then. Thankfully, we didn't have to start paying rent for, like, the first 4 months, so we had, like, a little buffer, and we only had, like, 5 people training with us, so we still, like, felt okay doing just tiny little group things, not right away, but, like, over the summer. Yeah, so I don't even really count, like, our first year as, like, being open almost, because it was such a weird
time, yeah.
Such a weird time. So, but yeah, we started in 2020, so technically our anniversary for 5 years is this year, but it more feels like 4 years.
Right, but that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have grown, like, beautifully.
Yeah, we've grown a lot. Yeah, I had no idea what it took to run a school. I still feel like I don't. Dan's wanted to run his own school for a long time. He's been teaching, oh gosh, for 10 years now. He loves teaching. It's, like, his passion. And he always thought that we would need to have, like, a large amount of money saved up to do it. And finally, that previous fall, we both just felt like, I think we just need to do this. And just start the process. So our first space was tiny, and, like, even if we never made a dime, we could still cover the rent with his salary. So that was a great place for us to be. But I mean, we both have kept some form of other job. Like, it's not our full-time job. It doesn't make a lot of money. It's definitely, like, a passion project. But no, it's been really satisfying to see our students grow, like, the teaching side of things, develop relationships with people, and then the business side is fun too. Like, I didn't know I'd be interested in growing a business, but it's really interesting, and I like solving problems, so it's fun to have, like, our own problem to figure out. We added Muay Thai in a couple years ago. That was really great. We do self-defense through a foundation, which has been great. So just kind of the different, figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, you guys do amazing, and your students, like, I love rolling with your students, especially your ladies. Like, they're some of my favorite.
We got some tough ladies.
They're tough.
We've had some ladies come visit, and they're like, your ladies roll really hard. Like, I know.
Yeah. You're like, they do. Yeah.
I roll hard.
Yeah. I roll with Izzy and Meg on Sunday, and I just love, like, it's super technical. Like, they were my favorite roles this week already.
So fun. Yeah. Megan was our first student.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah.
She's great.
Your students, like, I know, like, I mean, I always pretty much, if I don't know, I'm going to be paying attention, obviously, like, all right. I'm not going to, like, not take it seriously, but like
Yeah.
then there's levels, right? And I know when I'm like, oh, you're from Iron Roots? I'm like, okay. I'm super paying attention right now.
Oh, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah. I'm like, I know you guys aren't gonna fuck around, so I can't snooze.
But hopefully they're safe, as long as
Oh
they're
yeah.
safe.
Oh yeah. No, it's fun. I love it. It's like keep me on my toes and the technical challenge, but like there's good speed, there's good control. It's
That's
like,
great.
really good, like well-rounded approach. Yeah, I love
That's
rolling with them. Yeah.
They're great. We have some really great ladies. We've had like a bunch of new white belt women start up in the past few months, and I'm so excited for next year because I'm gonna get them all to compete next year, and it'll be so fun. They're too new right now, but like,
I know.
a year from now,
We have one competing tomorrow. I cannot wait to see her compete. I'm like so excited.
yes.
And then there's like a handful that I think probably in a few months they'll probably be ready at least to start giving it a go. So
It's so fun. Competition day, like coaching, is my favorite part
yeah.
of the whole thing. I love just like the roller coaster of emotions. Like a lot of them have panic attacks, like helping them work through that, and seeing what they actually do when the adrenaline hits them, and coaching them live and the after. Like one of my favorite photos of Dan ever, one of our little like 6-year-old girl students, the kids always cry after they compete, even if they win. They just cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, she went over to him and just gave him this huge hug, and he's just holding her, and she's just like weeping, and so cute. It's like, oh
my God, I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love our kids.
I always, with the girl, like I don't compete that often. I think, like I was telling you, I'm considering doing again soon. Mainly, to lead the charge for the girls to be like, hey, check it out.
Yeah, it's good to have a leader do it.
Yeah, and like also I'm, approaching black belt, and I was like, I feel like I should at least do it before black belt, because then it's, I don't know.
And that's a whole other thing.
It's a whole new, I haven't done it since like purple, or I don't know, I haven't done it for a while, so.
Yeah.
But so much of the training that I did in Krav was like, the stress training of like, you're just being, attacked, but nonstop for, let's say your belt test is a whole weekend, and you just do that the entire weekend. Like it's just like
crazy.
close your eyes, and you have 8 people, and some of them have sticks or knives or guns, not real, training things, but still we had like shock knives, so that was real enough for me. And so like that kind of training to see, that's the thing I love about Krav in that sense, is putting you under that stress to see how you function under stress. So that's what I always tell the girls with competing. I'm like, I don't want you guys to feel like, you don't, if you're not interested in doing it, it's totally fine.
Yeah, for sure.
I would consider doing it a little bit, just for the sheer sake of seeing how you're reacting under stress, because then you can get a measure of what that looks like, in terms of your training. Where can you kind of work on those things? Because even though I teach the jiu-jitsu class, I'm always like sprinkling, and until we get some of the pads that I'd like to use for self-defense.
Yeah.
I always have like a little self-defense moment in there somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's so applicable, and
Yeah.
I think so many women who start jiu-jitsu are looking for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the competition nerves are so interesting, because you can like train to get them better, Like I've gotten to the point with my jiu-jitsu competition where I still get nervous, but it's not debilitating.
Right.
And I feel like I can perform like I train in the gym, which was kind of that goal. But I did my first MMA fight last year.
Oh, that's right.
And the adrenaline dump, like I thought I was going to die in the ring. I thought I was going to die beforehand. In between rounds, I had, you sit on that chair for a minute, and I was like, I can't breathe. Like, yeah. I know I'm in such good shape. I don't feel like this when I compete in jiu-jitsu, but I cannot breathe. And it was very humbling, I think, as a reminder too, for like what my new students are feeling when they compete in jiu-jitsu, because they tell me that they're like, I can't breathe, and I'm like, you're fine.
Right. We're
It's like, no, I've just gotten used to it. Like,
right.
Yeah, having that new level was humbling for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, the breathing thing. Yeah, I think the times where, I've had like asthma attacks during, which I don't have asthma.
Yeah, it sure feels like it.
Yeah, I had that would happen. Like we would do whatever, like the scenario I was describing, but it would go on for like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, something like that. So
That's
you're just constantly. So by the end of it, you're doing it, and then. It's it's a lot of contact, and then you stop, and I was like, I can't breathe.
I haven't breathed.
And then one time my vision, like just my right eye, some weird things happen.
Yeah, totally.
In that sense for training, it's, it's an opportunity to just kind of get a look into our nervous system in that sense. And I know not maybe every, I don't know, I feel like you might have been, maybe it was because your dad, but I know I kind of came out of the womb feeling like I really needed to learn how to protect myself. I don't really remember why, let's just say. I don't know if it's something I've repressed, but I just had a very strong inclination that like I needed to know how to like fuck somebody up if I had to, kind of.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
and we were talking about like, you know, Terminator 2 and Sarah Connor, and I was like, yes, like that.
That's what I want to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Totally.
like, that lady is my hero. And then my, I don't know if you know the Guardian Angels who were in New York. So during New York in the 80s, I guess, when it was like really bad, there were people called, they were just basically people who trained who went out and patrolled the street to make sure that if shit was going down, they would like help people.
Nice.
And my mom's cousin, so like my second cousin, she and her husband were the ones who started it.
Oh, cool.
And she's
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah. So I also grew up with like her. My mom's
Yeah.
like, you know, you know about her, and I was like, oh my god. And she's, you know, I always say everybody taller than me is always 6 feet tall. I'm like, I'm like, she's tall.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I got to meet her when I was younger, and I was like, I want to be. And she has like
That's
a book,
the
and it's
girl.
like, you know, how to like kick everyone's ass. And I was like, yes.
That's cool. I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
love
yeah. They, I think they wear like berets, and they would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I
You've
think
probably
I've
seen
seen
them, like-
parodies of
yes.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that
But
was
not like the real thing.
I have her book somewhere, I think.
Okay.
But she's like a newscaster in New York now. But she's super cool. But she was somebody also that kind of like set that tone. But I think, you know, like I know for me at least, wanting to know self-defense, but then also pass it along. Like I'm curious what brought you to that. And I'm really curious about the Amy Smart Foundation because it looks like really beautiful. I actually mentioned you in the other podcast that I was episode that I was talking about because to me it seems like it's really well-rounded.
Yeah. So the Elizabeth Smart Foundation.
I said Amy Smart.
No, you're good.
My bad.
Yeah. So I grew up in. I feel like it's still like this a lot of places where, so many jiu-jitsu dudes are like, I can teach self-defense to women.
Oh my god.
Right? And
Yes,
it drives me.
yes, let's.
It drives me nuts. Like the schools that I trained at growing up are like that, where it's like, let's do a free women's self-defense seminar, and it's this big dude, and he's like, and this is how you do it, right? And so like I'd helped with a few of those, and the lady who runs the actual like curriculum, the self-defense piece, I knew her from Utah, so like I'm friends with her. Her name's Mio. She's fantastic. And so I saw that they were doing this program through the foundation, and I was like, I actually think that's, like, I would like to teach women self-defense, but that's what I would like to be a part of. And for a few reasons, they only have women teach it. They'll bring like a safe male figure in to like demo on like later on, but the first like 4 hours of the class, because we do like big 8-hour ones, it's just female led, which I think is so healthy and valuable. Like some of these women that I've taught, like they won't even be in the same room with men, right? So having that really, really feminine space, even though it's a very like aggressive defense space, it's very, very feminine still. The other thing is all of the instructors are trauma informed. So we went through training with the, I don't know what the official term for it, but like the director of, the person who deals with sexual assault cases and helps with recovery with that in Utah did training for us. And that was incredibly eye-opening. Like the statistics, I think it's something like 1 in 3 women in Colorado have been sexually assaulted. And that's really, really high. And so, yeah, I think because jiu-jitsu, I think, informed a lot of my confidence and understanding of self-defense growing up. Like, I wanted to give back to that, but I felt inadequate as just me teaching it. So having those additional pieces, like we have women who will have PTSD, like full attacks in my classes, and I'm not a mental health counselor or therapist or anything, but I feel like I have some tools to at least kind of recognize what's happening and help them find like a safe place to go be. So yeah, I've been super grateful for that training. Really, really eye-opening to be introduced into that community. We got to teach a class to a group of women. They were all in their 70s.
That's awesome.
And it was their therapist who brought them in. And so she took the class with them. And some of these women hadn't had a positive experience with a man, like, ever in their life, like, assaulted multiple times. And so it was just us women the first day. And the second day we brought Dan in. And Dan, I'm so grateful. He's a very safe male presence. You probably felt that. Just gentle. He's this huge dude, but he's
so,
like,
I'm like, hello.
I know, he's so tall. But he has a very, like, gentle vibe about him. And, like, they loved him by the end, which I think is really healing to have that
big time
safe male presence. And then at the very end, he puts on this big padded suit and they get to try and beat him up. And just the catharsis, the crying, I don't know. And, like, I don't know if they'll remember anything they learned. You know what I mean? And that's
Sure.
part of it, right? I don't expect...
It's an 8-hour. You're like, we have some time to introduce you to some things, yeah.
Yeah, but taking away that feeling of overcoming this fear, I think it's just, like, super healing. And there's so many things that go into that healing process. But, yeah, really grateful to be a part of that. And the 3 pieces that we use, we do Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and Krav Maga. Yeah. So it's very, like... rough and ready, which I think is great too. Like, a lot of the traditional jiu-jitsu self-defense classes, it's like you have to drill this armbar like 1,000 times to be able to use it.
And also an armbar is not going to render somebody unconscious.
No.
Is like...
Yeah. We added in this last time something that I think was, I was actually really nervous to teach it at first. We talk about what to do if you are raped, like the after effects of it. So what to do if someone reports to you, what to do if that happens to you. And I was like, I don't know if I can teach this to this group of women that are here seeking, like, answers to that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But we did it, and I was really impressed with the conversations that we had about it. You know, because if that never happens to you, you know a woman that's happened to. And I had no idea, like, if someone reports to me, what I need to do to help this person. So having those conversations, and we also do a huge discussion on consent and boundaries in your life, and we do this what's the word? This little practice where you, like, place people in your life closest to you based on how safe they are, and then practice setting boundaries. So, like, if your dad is not financially a safe person, then you don't trust him with your finances. Or if your sister doesn't respect your time, then maybe you don't make huge plans with her. Just, like, little stuff, like, just, like, the life skills.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it's been really
it's
cool.
Practical. It's a nice practical application, yeah.
And then obviously taking it, like, further, like, if someone doesn't respect you physically, it's okay to set harder and harder boundaries, right? And I shouldn't be surprised that so many people don't know how to say no at any aspect of their life, because as women we're taught to be submissive and happy and
polite and how are you
and polite.
Comfortable.
Yeah. And it's like, well, of course we don't know how to say no, and scary stuff.
Right.
And when there's a power dynamic that's off, not that we should have to say no in the first place, obviously. Right. And yeah, the first thing we teach them is how to yell and say no. And it's really, really eye-opening to see these women, because we have someone approach them and they're supposed to put their hands out and say some version of, no, get back, fuck you, whatever you want. Yeah. And I'm like, I want you to scream this. And they're all like, but I don't want to be rude.
right? Like,
right?
No, I want you to be as rude as you can be.
Yeah, be mean. Like, it's okay to be mean. I had someone approach me in a parking lot one time, and it was, like, really late at night. I was walking out of, like, King Soopers to my car, and I'm walking in my car, and this young guy, like, starts walking really fast towards me across the parking lot. And I, like, get my car door open, and he's, like, right at my car door. And I should have gotten in the car and slammed it. But I felt bad because he was trying to pitch me on selling me something. But the vibe was off. The whole thing was weird. But I was so nervous at, like, acting offensive and, like, offending someone when he wasn't trying to be weird, that I let him talk to me.
Right.
In, like, a compromised position. And, like, I've forgiven myself for that, right? Not my fault at all, but yeah, really interesting to feel that desire to be a polite, nice member of society.
Yeah.
Take over what I know in my brain was not safe.
Right.
So learning how to override that
Takes practice.
desire to be a perfect person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a nice woman. And
right.
I don't want to be a bitch, but I should be.
Right. I wrote a paper for my Krav Black Belt, and it was "What a Bitch."
Yeah. Yes.
It was do you know the book The Gift of Fear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I've read it.
Yeah. So I think I had just read the book, whatever, and I was like, yes, like it was so much. It's interesting with I'm so curious to hear about the approach, because as much as I love Krav, it is like, it was created for the Israeli military, and like, because everybody who's a civilian has to go into the military.
Yeah.
So like it has a different origin, and yet is still self-defense when it came to the States. And I always loved that they would like, Darren Levine, the guy who brought it over from Israel. Well, there's several people, but at least the whatever, worldwide, was a ADA in LA. So he was, actually had access to all of the footage that was happening of people being attacked. But mostly training with dudes who are thinking about dude-centered attack kind of things, right? And Ernie, my instructor, and then his wife, Anne, who I want to have on at some point, because you would love talking to her about, teaches self-defense constantly. That's like her mission, and she's just like powerful. And the conversations that we've had about this specifically, when it comes to women, is really like, of course there's the side of being able to just fight, right? Right. So like getting that spirit for just I look at a lot, I see like either jiu-jitsu self-defense Instagram things or other self-defense, and you're just like, but ultimately, right, like we can, if we love to train and we want to keep training and we want to be like a little ninja, like great. But if you don't have that desire to do that, to spend that time, it's not fun to you, but you want to stay safe, it's like literally you just need to fight. Right? Like, have that. However, for women, it's not, I mean, of course there are so many attacks that happen from strangers, but like the conversation, domestic. The conversation is like so much skipping the fact of just like you said, like the boundary. That's why I love that boundary setting, because there's a disconnect between that, right? Like I've trained forever, and yet I've been in very emotionally abusive relationships. I was pretty much just lucky I found emotionally abusive instead of physical abusive, I am not trying to say that flippantly. That's just kind of, the mindset. I very much understand that mindset of not setting the boundaries, and being, having all these martial arts skills, and yet just getting like pummeled emotionally because I didn't know how to set those boundaries. Yeah. And I've seen it in the physical abuse sense, where like that's the work of the cultural side of things, of the relationships that we have, the way that we show up for each other and our friends to help identify, as I was, there's like Instagram, like female friendships are like usually identifying the narcissists in your life or the red flags, right? You're like, you're like, that's not,
don't be with that person.
Yeah, that's really unhealthy behavior. And it's hard to talk about those things, especially if you are, perceived as a strong woman. It's hard to be, and like doing things well. I'll say for me, it was hard for me to acknowledge like just how extremely unhealthy of an environment that I lived in for so long, and the things that I would allow, and not know I didn't have the skills or the awareness to know that it was even unhealthy. I didn't know what was completely fucked up until I was out, really. And I was like, oh, this is...
Well, if you're not taught that, like... Yeah, I know. I hate that so much of the prerogative and responsibility has been placed on women to take care of ourselves, because it shouldn't be like that. It should be, we fix male culture and just culture in general. But, as much as we try and do that, and actually the foundation has started like a male program, which I think is really great, where they talk about all this too. But, I'm not going to wait for that part of society to change. But yeah, just like learning like, oh, that's not healthy and you don't have to tolerate it. And then having the support system to help you with that, because it's one thing to know that, but then actually doing something like, to do it, that's so hard. It's so hard. And I think, the reality of a lot of it too is, I've trained jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and MMA for almost 20 years for parts of it. And I could still be attacked tomorrow and not know how I'm going to react, and none of it would ever be my fault. And, no matter what boundary I set, like, people still cross them. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that, and that we can't control everything around us. Right. And that's like a hard pill to swallow, especially as someone who was raised to defend herself her whole life. Like, I don't get to control what happens. And that is one of the things that I love too, with the adding kind of like the post-care if something does happen to you, like just acknowledging the fact that statistically it might, but you still survive and you still get to recover. Like, whatever bad things happen in your life, there are tools to help you recover from, and just the freeing feeling of letting go of the need to control everything and knowing that there's ways to recover from everything.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. I think that's I was, when you told me about it, because I remember when you first, I was like, I love it. You're like, well, we go through this like whole thing. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating. That's like, I at some point would like to maybe do that, because I do love those extra pieces. And although I don't, it was my first job, basically. My first like real job was like teaching self-defense.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I ran schools, and that was like what I was going to do.
Okay.
So I just got sick like at the same time, and
that's hard to do.
Yeah. So yeah.
Your body's like, please stop.
Yeah. I was like, I'm just going to sleep here. Yeah. But I think that, like you said, it's a bigger picture with it. And of course, like for guys, I try to tell them, whenever I talk to the dudes, and thankfully, like I know at my gym at Merck's, and I feel like everybody I've met from Iron Roots, and really everybody in this community, I have felt like from the dudes in particular, everybody's been like very supportive, very on board to support, especially the women, in any way that they need. Like, what do you need help with training? I've never experienced anything that has made me be like, which is really nice. Yeah.
I have, but
okay.
I love our community. It's not perfect. Just
right. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only been here for a little bit, so maybe I just need some time. I don't know, but I always try to tell.
I hope you don't encounter it.
No, I hope not either. I don't respond well to those kinds of things.
It's not good.
But I try to say to dudes to understand a little bit of like just a metaphor of what it's like to be a woman, is that I'm like, imagine that you live with, because the size and strength disparity is there. As a 17-year-old me, I never wanted to acknowledge it. I was like, I will take on.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
I could kick anyone's ass.
I'm like, let's go. Yeah. And then I get like some giant guy just move me from I'm like, oh, you can just literally throw me across the room.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, imagine you live with a bunch of lions, like, and they're cool. They're just roaming. You pet them. You guys hang out. It's cool. Every now and then, one of them tries to eat you.
It's just your reality,
right? You're like,
that's a great minute. That's so sad.
I know, but it's like,
true.
we're cool. Like, they're great, awesome, cuddly, sweet, wonderful. Most of the time, it's fine. But like, if they try to eat you, you have a major problem.
Bad.
There's not like any kind of equal playing field there, except if you have like weapons,
sure.
And even then, can you deploy them in time? Are they gonna blah blah blah, all that stuff? I had a situation before. It was like a year before we moved here, and I would always go on walks by myself. I've walked by myself forever, and I do carry a knife. But even then, like, I know enough about knives to know, like, if there's a knife involved, I'm most likely getting cut as well, and you need to have enough training to even be willing to use that knife and all that. And I don't think it's a perfect weapon. It's just one I had.
For sure.
So I was walking, and I would always walk around dusk, and I had to have changed all of this since I moved here, since there are mountain lions, real lions. I'm like, I love dusk, and so do they. And also,
we all love it.
Yeah, and I'm child size, and people are like, they like to eat children. I'm like, great. I was like, Matt, can we go on a walk?
Please come with me.
Yeah. So I was coming back from the walk. There's a parking lot. It was just like one little road in, is super back roads area, like secluded area of this town. And it was like a nature preserve, so there weren't like a lot of houses around either. And I see, I had my truck at the time. I miss that truck. And I had my truck parked, and then there was a car right next to it. And so I'm walking like far enough and this is one of those things, like, I'm like, oh, I should have done this differently, but, like, I kind of, like, I was trying to assess the situation as best I could at the time. So there's a car parked next to my car, and a guy, at least Dan's size, so my truck is, like, this, and his car is like this.
Okay.
And I'm trying to, like, just scope out, like, through the bushes as I walk up to see, like, what the fuck's going on. Is he, like, going for a walk or whatever? And he was just standing at his trunk with the trunk open and just, like, standing there.
Weird.
And I was like, all right, I really can't tell. I couldn't see that well, like, what was happening. So I just, like, got my knife out in my hand. Because at least the one that I have, I've used it enough to know, like, to use it as a blunt, weapon if I have to, which I would prefer to do that. But as I'm, like, as I'm, like, starting to make it up to the, I think what had happened was, I was walking up, and there was another car that, thank God, pulled in at that time. And I mean, the sun was just about to go down, so I was very lucky. And I think, looking back on it, they were like, what is going on here?
Weird.
Yeah, this is weird. So as I'm walking up to my car, because they slowly went around, and I'm like, thank God somebody else is, like, at least just seeing that we're both here. Yeah. And I just, like, power stand, like, I just, like, you get a certain, like, I'm a scary person if I have to be, kind of thing. And got in my car, like, real quick, but the timing only worked out really because that car came in. And I don't know, I mean, a giant dude doing something by his trunk, and it's open, and it's right, there are no other cars in the parking lot.
No,
Why the fuck are you parked right next to me?
No, it's weird.
Yeah. That was, like, one of those times that I was like, I really, really narrowly, like, missed. You just know. I could just tell that there was something not right about the situation, and the way that he was, like wanting to engage or whatever, and I'm like, I'm not the one to fight. Like,
no.
Yeah. But stuff like that, it's talking about, like, with self-defense. I think the self-awareness, the situational awareness, really is something for men and women. Just in general. Matt's even really gotten so much practice with me, because I'm just, like, flat. I've always joked that I train self-defense just to, like, go to the gas station or go on a walk or just, like, go do stuff, you know? You're like, and it's not to be fear-mongery, but like you said, the statistics are not great.
Yeah, and I would rather take some precautions than, again, not living in fear, though, and I think that's, like, an important, like, I was raised with a lot of that, like, fear around self-defense, and so, but yeah, just being aware. Yeah. Aware, and then, letting it go. I had to get gas the other night on the way home from our school, and Dan and I drove separately, and I was like, it's 9 p.m. Please come with me to the gas station. Yeah. Like, I hate getting gas for myself that late. Yeah. And so he did, and he stood there, looked around, and was like, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I think for people listening, I think that it should be eye-opening to hear two women who've trained most of their lives have that perspective still, right? Like, and again, it isn't to be, like, live in fear. That's not necessarily the point. It's just that you have a certain amount of practicality around things. It's not a big deal. Come with me to the gas station.
No, and, like, with anything, right? Like, the way I was originally taught it is, like, a color code of awareness. So, like, if you're in white, you're unaware of your surroundings. And then you ideally want to be, like, in condition yellow, which is just you're acknowledging things like, oh, a car's coming down the street. I'm not going to walk across the street at the same time, right? Or, like, there's kids playing sports in the park. Like, I'm aware maybe a ball could come in. It's just being aware of your surroundings. Right. Or, there's a creepy person by my truck. Like, I'm aware of that. When you hit orange, you start, like, something's flagged you, and so you're making a plan. So your plan was, like, okay, how am I going to get to my car? I got my knife out. Like, you have a plan. And then if you hit condition red, you're enacting your plan. And so most of the time you should be living just in that yellow state, just aware of your surroundings. But I don't think it has to be just self-defense. It's, like, defending yourself from getting hit by a car. Like, my silly dog tries to drag me into traffic every time we go on a walk, and I'm like, you would die without me because you're unaware of what's happening around you.
You're in the white zone.
Yeah, or, like, little kids, like, they just run after a ball. You have to teach them that, and I think all we've done is just expand it a little farther, and we're just aware of as a woman, you're just aware of more things.
You are, yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that, like, on edge constantly.
Right. Because and that was one of the reasons I actually stopped training Krav as much. Like I'll go and I haven't done it a bit, but I need to go and do some refresh. But every day for however long, I was like, what if somebody tries to choke you? What if they try to pull a gun on you? A knife, blah blah blah. And
you can't think of every scenario.
Oh my god, I was like, yeah,
your
and
nervous system's just.
And I would have dreams all the time. People are attacking me, and then I wasn't winning. And honestly, until I got like I think only like 2 years ago in jiu-jitsu. I win now.
Okay.
I was like, check this out. And I loved jiu-jitsu so much as a compliment to everything. And this is what I was talking about in one of the episodes, because I think, there's a lot of people trying to teach self-defense through jiu-jitsu only. And it's an incomplete system.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so like, and I don't want to give women, again, in particular, a false sense of confidence. While also not taking away their ability to be like, I will fucking fight no matter what. Like, that's really ultimately, like, just fight,
Yeah, fight. Yeah, I always tell at the end of my classes, like, if you take nothing else away, just please know you're worthy of defending.
Yes.
'Cause I think so often we don't feel that, and whatever that looks like. And again, like, acknowledging your like trauma response, like fight, flight, freeze, appease, like you don't get to control what that is, but the more you train, like eventually if you come to during that, you'll be able to try what you learned, like, and maybe you don't the whole time, maybe you're frozen the entire time, which you can't control. But if you do come out of that and you have some sort of ability to fight, like whatever you do is going to be awesome,
right?
Just claw their eyes out, do something.
I had a really eye-opening experience with this in the layer of like the what is happening. It was kind of a really random, I mean, it's funny to me, I guess. I thought it was, I got attacked by an owl.
Oh, wow.
In the woods.
Oh, an owl.
Which I don't think is very common, at least, but like so again, I was walking at dusk and I thankfully had like a little bun in. And it was back on the East Coast, and I got hit in the back of the head, like hard. And I was like, oh shit, this is it. You know?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. And I was like, I'm turning around, nothing is there. And as I'm turning around, I'm going, fuck. I'm going, oh my God, did a deer just stand up and kick me in the head? Like, it hit me hard. Hard enough for me to consider all of these options.
Yeah.
And I... and I'm like, and then I'm like a ghost. I'm like, what is happening right now? So I was just trying to figure out, literally in the moment it took me to turn around, I went through all those scenarios, and I'm like, what?
Which one is it?
What just happened? I got hit in the back of the head. I know that. And I kept turning and finally just saw his like wings go into the trees, whatever. So, or her, I'm not sure. I think I might have been near a nest, or she just legit was like, I told Matt, he was like, you're telling me owls think they can eat you? I was like, I don't know.
I'm small enough.
I guess so, yeah. But I thought that was so interesting, and she came after me like a few more times, and I was
wow.
I was screaming and laughing, running, like, I was just like, oh my God.
Wow.
Running, yeah. She was like, get the fuck out of here. And I was like, all right. Sorry.
Definitely a girl.
Yeah. She was like, I need you to leave.
Definitely had a
I was like, I'm so sorry. But it was so, that whole feeling of like, what is happening was a layer that I guess, we did train in Krav to the extent of like, your eyes are closed, you get hit, you got to figure out what it is. But
you knew it was a person.
Right. It's a person, yeah. I was like, an owl.
An owl. How do I fight an owl?
Yeah. I know, everyone's like, did you punch it? I was like, I would never.
No.
I would never. I had but yeah, she got me pretty good on the head and everything.
That's so funny.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I definitely want to come to one of your classes at least, even just, I'll hold pads and just observe and all of that. I would love that. We haven't even talked about congratulations on your little baby.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to share a little bit about your journey and everything? Because I think I know one other girl on the East Coast right now. I think she's about 7 months pregnant, and she was like a high competitor, and she's been training, and it's really cool seeing the two of you guys training. And I used to do interviews for Krav back in the day. And I interviewed a woman who taught in Chicago, and she trained Krav up until 2 weeks before she gave birth.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it made me think of you in that sense, because it's not something we hear that often of women training. And she was like, our culture thinks about women like we're sick or something. And we're not. And she's like, and I'm not doing anything that's, obviously going to like put the baby in danger.
Yeah.
But, I'm teaching and I'm staying active and I'm strong. So like, what's the problem with, like, I'm not injured or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I've had multiple people tell me before, like, asking, like, are you guys going to have a kid someday? And it was always like, I don't know. But yeah, I've had people be like, well, you probably should get all your competing out of the way now because your body's not going to, like, function, or you're not going to want to do it afterwards. And it's true, I could be a totally different person 5 months from now. Like, I don't know that, but it like makes me so angry that that's the assumption that, one, your life is over, two, your body's never going to be the same, like your pelvic floor is going to be destroyed for the rest of your life. It's like, it's not
accurate.
So yeah, lots of like expectations from other people and surprise from other people to hear that I'm still training. I run 3 miles a day still.
Your training schedule. I was like, I need to do your pregnancy training schedule.
I know. I feel kind of bad like sharing that stuff just because I know some women are looking at that and they're just like, that's not even my normal workout schedule, but like normally I work out 2 to 3 times a day, right? So cutting it down to 1 strength session and 1 cardio session feels really good for my body. And I think whatever that looks like for you is great. But yeah, just the belief that your bodies can't like function through a lot of this, and some women have horrible pregnancies and they're sick, and you know what I mean? That's not me. Like,
right.
I was nauseous and I dealt with that the first trimester, but my body's been pretty good, thankfully. But the one thing that I did that I think was pretty transformative was finding a pelvic floor physical therapist really early on.
Yeah.
And the things that we've done, like, it's all been strengthening my hips. So as my stomach grows, I can actually carry the weight properly. Teaching my pelvic floor how to relax instead of like tighten so much, so that when it's time to push a baby out, like that will go easier. But even like as your uterus grows, like your round ligament, everything like stretches. And so just having like the help through that has been really valuable. I don't know if I'd be able to do as much as I am without like getting that work done every other week.
It's really smart. It's really smart that you did that.
Well, it was the sort of thing where it's like I seek out treatment for any injury. So why wouldn't I do it for this too? Not that I'm injured, but my body is changing a ton.
It's a new, it's like a new paradigm for your body, which is another way to think about an injury, right? Like you're like,
totally.
I have to do this differently. Yeah, so you're like, how do I do this differently?
Yeah. And I've always trained through my injuries to some extent. Like I haven't had like my knees redone. Like it's been like shoulders and stuff like that. So I've always been able to at least use like one arm. But the thing I've always found is like anytime I'm injured, it actually forces me to grow my jiu-jitsu in another way, because you can't use the things that you normally do. Yep. And so pregnancy has felt like that too a little bit. Right now I'm doing a lot of like heavy pressure passing because that's what feels good on my body, and I never do that. And I'm like, wow, this has been a good addition. Dan, why didn't I do this earlier? I told you to. All right, sorry. I didn't listen. Sorry, coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's been cool. The whole like process of deciding to have a kid has been super transformative. I mentioned it like in the Instagram post that you were talking about a little bit, but yeah, I was never the person who wanted to be a mom. Like my mom was like, all I've wanted to be was a mom, and now I have you children, and it fulfilled all my life goals. It's like, I have never felt that. That's what my sister was too. And in the religious culture that I come from, let me fix this. Did I fix it? Yeah. The religious upbringing that I come from, most of my friends had babies by the time they were 25. Multiple, probably. You get married at 20, you have kids like
What's
immediately.
your religious background?
Mormon, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so like family is like everything. Yeah. Have all the kids. We do believe in birth control, so not quite as much as the Catholic families that don't believe in birth control. Right. But yeah, lots and lots of kids. And so like growing up, seeing that was always like icky to me. Even seeing like my mom's life was like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to have any part of that. I didn't want to get married, like nothing like that. And then I met Dan, and he's my soulmate and just my everything. And so of course I married him, and that was transformative to realize that marriage didn't have to look like the examples that I saw that were suffocating and restricting. It actually opened my life in so many ways. And you can have that without being married too, obviously, just finding a partner.
Right.
And so he's always been on the same page with me, like, that's not the lifestyle we want. Like, the examples I've seen of parents we're not interested in that. So we've been together for 12 years, and turning 30 definitely, like, put a little bit of that clock in my brain, like, okay, we've kind of been thinking about it, like, if we do want to do it, you probably should at least start the process soon.
Right.
But I still felt very strongly like, I don't, this still is really freaky. And then a year ago, we both had this really strong, like, whatever you want to call it, like, God speaking to us, premonition from the universe, like, whatever you call that. We both felt very strongly that we should start trying to get pregnant, and that felt like this, like, death of myself in some way. Just having to completely let go of what I felt like my life not even should look like, but letting go of that control piece, right? Like, opening up the possibility that there could be something out there that God or the universe has for me that I can't imagine for myself, that's better than what I can imagine for myself, which I've done at other points in my life, but this felt really hard.
Big time, yeah.
To release into that, right? Because I'm a very controlling person, so and kids bring just chaos that I can't control,
right.
And I can't control if my kid is healthy or if they're gonna have disabilities or if they're gonna like me. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many. There's no control over that.
You're a very introspective person, so, like, all of the things you could consider, for sure.
I've considered all of them.
Yeah,
and to not feel like something is missing, but still choose that there could be something better for me out there. I think is what, like, my soul needed to help me to grow, and so I'm grateful and excited for, like, that growth of that. But having a kid still scares the shit out of me.
I think it's cool that you're saying that. I feel that was actually one of the reasons I was really interested to talk to you about it. Because again, I think you literally said exactly the same kind of thing, where it's like, you were saying Instagram is a place, and just social, whatever, us sharing is a place that we can share things so that people have, whether or not we're all talking about it together, you have community knowing that somebody else feels similar to you. You don't feel,
you're not alone.
Yeah. You don't feel quite as much like an alien. The reason I share, like, everything is because I had a number of people share things with me, or just share in general, and I happened to hear them, and I appreciated it so much. It is what got me to where I am in life, to know that I'm not just, like, an alien lady who doesn't know what's going on, and, like, feels so weird, like I just don't fit in, kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, I still feel like that, but there's a bunch of us, and that's okay. I'm not, like,
You're not broken.
I'm not broken, right? I'm not, like, wrong or bad for that. It's just, some of us just all of us have different experiences, so it's, like, kind of where you overlap, right? And when we share with each other about those things, and I think especially motherhood is really interesting in that sense. Like, I definitely went back and forth about wanting to have kids.
Such a hard decision.
Yeah, and there are still times where I'm like, oh, and I mean, I'm 42 now, so, like, I feel like I've also, like, but I've made peace with, like, where I'm at with that, but yeah, I wasn't with a partner that I felt safe having children with.
I would never have a kid if it wasn't with Dan.
Yeah, so like it was, and with Matt, I would feel safe with that, but then also we're kind of like, all right, let's do these things, totally. Instead or whatever, right? But I think having that feeling of, just wanting to pass something along, right, is like, that's kind of how I interpret those feelings for me. But you sharing that, I think there's so many women who, get pregnant, have their kids, and that's the whole postpartum depression, I feel like. It's like you have these expectations that everybody's, like, telling you that you're going to be like, oh, it's going to complete you, and you're going to feel this whatever, this love that is, you can't even describe.
Everyone says that, and I'm like, Okay, we'll see.
You will see. Yeah, you're like...
I don't know that.
Right, and I would
Yeah.
imagine that there's a lot of women who don't have that experience right off the bat, and they're like, did I do something wrong? You know, and not knowing if that's normal or not. And I'm going to wager that's very normal.
Yeah, I think so. I started seeing a therapist last year, and I think that's part of the reason also why I felt like, okay, we could have a kid, because I've worked through my shit. Mm-hmm. Not all of it, but you know, made some progress. But I thought that by the time we made the decision to have a kid that I would feel excited, and I still didn't. And then I thought getting a positive pregnancy test, I would feel excited. I didn't. I like wanted to die. And I thought hearing the heartbeat for the first time, I would feel excited, and I cried and was angry. And it was just this weird, like I felt broken multiple times in my life from feeling different, right? And so, yeah, that's, again, why I share too. Because I know there's women out there that feel like we do, like I do. But yeah, the expectation, like everyone's like, oh, you see so many videos online of women with their positive pregnancy tests. Oh my gosh. And I was like, I know I planned this, but I'm still like mourning, you know, the changes that this is going to bring to my life. And yeah, even hearing the heartbeat and like going to her ultrasounds, I'm neutral at best. Mm-hmm. And I just haven't had that like that happiness, but I just kept asking my therapist, like, is this normal? Yes, you're normal. Like, that's all I wanted to know was like, am I okay for feeling this way?
Right.
And you are.
Right.
And she told me multiple times, whatever emotion you have while pregnant is okay. And I was on Reddit looking for other women. Like, were there other women who weren't excited who planned on a pregnancy? And some of these women were like, I'm 40 weeks pregnant and I'm still not excited, even though my husband and I have been trying for 10 years to have a baby.
Right.
It's like, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and also you're doing something that is really intuitively on point, where you're in the process, like you're being present with your process. Mm-hmm. Sometimes things happen, it's like we have expectations, but we're not really present with that process. Then all of a sudden the change happens, then those feelings hit you after, right? And you're like, holy fuck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I'm actually terrified. I've been trying to be a good sport or whatever. I've been trying to do a good job at this, like, you know, being pregnant thing or whatever. And now I'm like, oh my God, everything's different. So you actually just, you know, being present with the fact that you're like, all right, I'm mourning this, and you know, having whatever kind of ritual around that, right? Like however you acknowledge those changes will allow you to have an easier transition and just be ready for the next thing. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's very much the way that we work as people, but our culture doesn't know how to. I mean, that's a very nuanced way to be. So it's hard to have our culture is not nuanced at all. So it's like chaotic, and that's a spiritual practice, right? Like that's the seasons changing, it's flowers growing a little bit, it's leaves falling. That's why I always go to nature for everything, because you see all of that transition in nature, and it happens. Now, granted, sometimes do we wake up and there's snow on the ground, you know?
Like the other day, I was like, where did this come from?
I know, I'm like, isn't it spring? And it's just like, here's some snow. You know, of course, that's also nature, right? But you know, I've seen a lot of the same things when it comes to perimenopause and menopause. And I mean, this is one of the things that got me interested in just nutrition and holistic things. I mean, I was in my 20s when I saw it, and I was like, that's really interesting, just about our cycles in general. Just really processing, like every cycle, every moon cycle, period, whatever you want to call it. I have at least attempted to do it, where it's like some kind of reflection about the past month and like kind of where I'm at, where I'm going, and just kind of doing that will, at least from everything that I understand, along with, you know, obviously having good health and hormonal balance and all of that, but having that psychological portion of it helps to digest the information that's coming. It helps you not be as irritated about things, and also when you get up to menopause, you have digested all of the things you have been dealing with in life, as opposed to getting there, it hits you like a ton of bricks, and now you have to digest all of it at once, and you want to fucking punch everybody. So, like, you know, having that, as women in particular, having a relationship with cycles, because we demonstrate it without question. Oh, yeah. You know, and men don't have the same kind of outward cycle, but they also have it as well, so...
I was on birth control for, you know, a long time, like a lot of women are, and I went on, my IUD expired, so I went off of it, And I remember like the first time I got a period in like 8 years, I was like so angry about it and horrified. And I was like, this is going to be my life for the rest of my life, having this like this cycle and this anger and like the depression. And it's gotten a little better with like some good nutrition and stuff. But we were in Mexico, and I remember standing there at dusk, because I also like dusk, watching the waves come in and seeing the moon start to come out and the waves, and just this like understanding of like, okay, this is what my hormones do and my emotions do every month. Like, you know, if nature can sync with this cycle and, you know, be captivated by it, like I can let this go a little bit. But yeah, in high school I didn't eat enough, and if I started to get a period, I could go on a hard run and it would go away. And I was like so proud of that. It's like, I'm never going to have a period. And so I think I had 4 all of high school. Like I was not super healthy, and but that was like a badge of honor. I like didn't want to have all the things that came with being a woman. I remember like praying to God that I wouldn't get boobs, because I wanted to just like be tough and masculine and fit in with the bros at my gym,
right,
you know?
Right.
And so, yeah, learning to like be in tune with my body and understand that it's like a healthy thing for me to have these cycles and how your hormones and emotions work. It was, yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, it's, I think, yeah, I was on birth control for like 15 years, and when I got off of it, my cycles were whack, so whack. It was like I would have it for a month and then wouldn't have it for like 4 months, and yeah, it was like, oh my God. And then having a mom as an OBGYN with that.
It's a whole other layer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that I actually like talk. I know, sorry for the gentleman. I always say sorry for the gentleman, but actually I'm saying
They're
don't worry
fine.
about it. Because the thing is, you all have women in your life, and it's good for you to understand, like,
to learn about this.
you did learn about like that. Yeah. Right. And I think that when it goes back to the being a bitch thing for me, that we do as women, we're taught to just be like, and like be agreeable as much as, not as much as possible. It's better nowadays, but
it's still there though.
It's still there. It's still there. It's like, just be cool, like make sure people are like comfortable, whatever. And so you do that all month long, and then you feel like shit, and it's like, it's as if let's just say you have a cold or like a flu or something, and you're supposed to just be like, that doesn't bother me at all.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. And then really you just want to like punch a hole in the wall or something, you know, whatever. You just want to cry or eat something or do the things. Yeah, you know. I shared in one of the podcasts some of the plants that have like changed my life, and Vitex Chase Tree is like been it helped regulate my cycle. It's for most women it works. If somebody has, I always say it's caution, because I did have a friend who experienced this, but if somebody has like pretty intense like bipolar, then it can be like a little bit aggravating. It can be, but for the most part, like for across the board, it's one of those things, if you just take it from your ovulation up until your cycle, so like 2 weeks leading up to it, you have a really nice easy peasy cycle. Like you don't get the tenderness or like want to yell at somebody, or and then your cycle's like pretty chill. And obviously it takes some time for it to like, you know, accumulate. Yeah. But it's one of those things that has that, and I usually do a tarot reading. That's kind of how I do, and it doesn't have to be tarot, it's just questions. I like tarot. I'm very I use the world as analogies, right? Like I'm like, oh, this reminds me of the waves, right? Same thing. You look at something and you see how you kind of, this is why the podcast is thought experiment, right? It's a thought. You're like, how do I feel when I see X, Y, or Z? But I'll do a series of questions of like, you know, what have I let go of this month, or what do I feel like I should be like focusing on this month, or how have I shown up for myself, or just it can be whatever questions, you know, but a few questions to just kind of check in with yourself. And this is why like I love doing moon cycle things. It doesn't have to be, it can be as mystical and magical as you want, or it can be as practical as I check in every month and go like, how's it going, you know, with yourself. And I think that when we do that, it really just helps, you know, it's like going back to jiu-jitsu, basically, like the stripes and checking in on your progress and being gentle with yourself and having that awareness, And I think that we're really lucky as women to have that. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's so painful or disruptive that it's hard to even take that time. But if it is a painful period, if it is a long one, or if it's not there, any kind of looking at like how can we show up for ourselves in a cyclical way, whether or not, like, I don't have a very long period anymore. It's pretty chill and whatever, but I still make sure I like take that time, even if I'm not laid out.
Yeah.
Where before I'd be laid out and be like, let me do my tarot cards. I can't move. Now I'm just like, it's a good time to reflect. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're very lucky to have that. And I've on like a little mini campaign of like helping women know that to make friends with their body in that way, to make friends with their cycle is really powerful. And again, it's like whatever choice you want to do, like if you want to have children, if you don't want to have children, if you're trying to have children, all of those things, like talking to yourself and your spirit and spirit and all of that, is really transformative, as you know.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's something that's either treated as like gross by general society, or like my dad was always like gross, like if we mentioned the word tampon he would like run out of the room, and he still does. So if we wanted to get rid of him, we would just like say words at him and he would flee, even though he has 3 daughters and it should be normal. I don't know if you've read this book, The Red Tent.
I saw that you read it. I'm familiar with it. Yeah,
you would love it. I think I've read it twice. I don't remember it the first time I read it, but I think I've read it before. But I read it again this past year when we were trying to get pregnant, and just the practice of every month they go sit in this tent together and they bleed and they commune as women, and they like honor it as this happy time. Yeah. And the way they dealt with pregnancy, and it's of course not all historically accurate, but it was very like, wow, our society does not acknowledge this or treat it for what it is. And it made me kind of like long for this like feminine community that I feel like we don't have in a lot of ways, or at least I haven't found it in the way that I should, because I grew up trying to fight the masculine, and women didn't help with that in my mind, which is stupid because of course they do. But yeah, coming to like a peace with that, and like using it as like a power. Like, you're right, we do have the opportunity to reflect every month. And it's like marked, like, we should use that. It's really healthy.
It's a really nice gift that we've had. Yeah, the red tent. That's where a lot of the teachers that I learned from, that was like what they were informed with in particular. Yeah, and that really changed. That changed a lot for me when I started doing that, for sure. Because I again grew up in like the male dominated whatever, and then I was in bands, and it was just chaos. And then I started getting in my herbalism journey. And I managed an apothecary, and so we were all like it was super feminine energy from that, and I felt so masculine in that environment. I was like, it was odd because I didn't necessarily feel it otherwise, but then I like noticed. Yeah.
I felt that too.
Yeah.
I don't always fit in.
Right.
To the normal.
Like, well, what's this energy? I'm like, I don't know. I just sometimes want to fight people. What about you?
A lot of them.
But I love you. It's not like I'm mad. I just, but yeah, having that, I went to a bunch of different workshops talking about just like, literally just like befriending your womb, and I say like talking to it, however that lands, whatever that means. Yeah. To me, it helped me listen to things that really honestly was a huge part of me leaving the relationship that I left. I did a lot of that work during that time, and it was like, I remember doing a workshop. It made me cry. The workshop was like, we were doing a meditation, and it was like, let your womb know like that you are safe. I will take care of you. And like, and I didn't feel like I was doing that. I was like, I don't know that I'm doing that.
That's a hard thing to realize. Yeah,
I was like, I feel like I have not, not in some huge dramatic way, but just like, are you familiar with Louise Hay at all? She was like, the magical lady who was very much in like the positive affirmation and that kind of thing. And I'm actually going to do an episode on couple of the things that her like sayings that she would say, and one was just like, I love and approve of myself. And that was always her, like, if you say nothing else, if you have no other affirmation, I love and approve of myself. And the approve of myself is something that, like, that's the one that I'm like I love myself, and I like, I'm good, I take care of it better, but the approve part was like,
That's
really, so that was kind of the message that I wasn't approving, I wasn't taking care of myself because I wasn't feeling in that space of like the worthiness that I should take care of, like that I'm worthy of making sure that I have boundaries around if somebody is hurting my heart, that they also don't get access to the rest of me.
Yeah. No, totally.
And I didn't have that. I didn't have that at that time. So like all of that work, especially for any women who are listening in particular, like that's really transformative work, and it's something that is a slow burn. I kind of think that those are the best practices. I'll say they're the best practices for me, because you just like reading a book, you reveal each chapter, right? You get a little bit more insight, a little bit more of it actually integration into like your body and who you are. But I don't know. I just have such like I have such an adoration for our cycles at this point. And then, I have a lot of women in my life who are now entering perimenopause. I don't know that I'm there. I don't think I'm there yet. I'm close, but even with that, like, I think any kind of health, like you said, injury, health challenge, any of those things, like, you sound like you're the same way, where you go and seek kind of, okay, how do I show up for this next chapter? And that is how I think about that as well. Like, how do we, it's happening, right? Yeah. Pregnancy's happening. Maybe perimenopause will be happening soon. Like, they're happening. How do we show up? Like, you have to just like be like, all right, here we are. This is what we're doing. And,
Yeah, and just let go of the need to like make it look a certain way.
Yes.
But what can I do to support myself?
Yeah, but I really, really value you sharing everything that you shared in this conversation in general.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. I think, is there anything that you would want to share with anybody who's maybe considering listening to that voice of, I think I'm ready for a new path, but it feels scary?
I think just so much of the work that the internal work that I've done this past year is dealing with fear. And I didn't realize that fear was such a big motivator in my life. And on paper, I do really scary things all the time. I fight people, and I like kind of crazy sports, and I travel by myself. Like, I do a lot of things that on paper are kind of scary, but so many of the decisions that I've made surrounding like my lifestyle and my person have been motivated by fear, and I want to control everything. And so acknowledging that I'm afraid has been so healthy for me, instead of just saying, no, I'm always brave, because I'm doing the brave things. And if something scares me, I tend to do it normally. But in reality, I'm scared all the time. And so acknowledging that I'm afraid, acknowledging that I can't control everything, like the perfectionist, the brave perfectionist in me doesn't like to hear those things. But letting go of that and allowing myself to be afraid has allowed me to make a decision that I think deep down I did want to make. And I'm still not fully on board with it. And I think that's okay too. Like, I've seen a lot of people online, like my algorithm is now pulling up all the pregnancy things because that's what I'm looking at. But I've seen a lot of women online say things like, you shouldn't have a kid unless you're 100% committed. And I think there's something to that. Like, well, yeah, you should know that you want to take care of a kid, but all the hard decisions of my life, I haven't been 100% on board for. And I think it's unrealistic to say that you're ever going to be 100% on anything. Like, deciding what college I went to there's so much fear in that, right? What if I make a mistake? What if I make the wrong choice? Or choosing to be with my partner, like, I knew I loved him, but if you let the fear kind of sink in, like, there's so many doubts about that. And I think this feels the same, even magnified more, but if I let that fear take over and I pretend it's not there and I don't acknowledge it, then that fear tells me that I have to control every part of my life. And so learning, I think, to hear the voice of fear and like acknowledge it, let it have its space, but then let it pass through me. Hopefully is going to let me have a more interesting life than I planned on, or I don't know, or it could be horrible. I have no idea.
Well, I think what you're saying is the spiritual practice. Like, I very much relate to that too, by the way. I'm afraid of everything all the time. Yeah. People are like, you are? You don't seem like it. I'm like, oh,
I
yeah.
am, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would hide from people, like, growing up. Like, if you were tall, I would hide. I would say no to everything. But I found that because I'm afraid of everything, I'm like, what am I going to do? Nothing? I want to do some things, right? Stuff. So usually I say yes and learn to trust myself because and learn to trust spirit because it tends to go well, you know. Like even for our interview today, I was afraid I wasn't gonna make any sense. Like I've been feeling really foggy this week. I'm like, I hope that I say anything that makes sense. Yeah. I hope that you know. But that's kind of you know, maybe I just get used to. I've stopped asking it to go away, right? Yeah. And just like you said, like it's having the trust that things will reveal themselves as you proceed. And
yes,
I think
it doesn't have to look clear.
Yeah. And of course, there's times where fear is a different fear, where it's like a survival fear, right? Yeah. But I think, you know, we're told that we're supposed to. Like, I had this moment and everything was clear, or like I made this decision and everything fell into place. Like, I have not had a lot of those experiences. No. And again, why I share that, because I don't want everyone to feel like if they do go in a path and it doesn't all of a sudden become clear that they've somehow gone the wrong path. It's just a different kind of path. Maybe you have a different way of digesting that information, and you're still growing into who you are going to be when you're ready for the thing that you're afraid of in the past, right? You're just not that person yet, you know? But yeah, it sounds like that is where you've really developed your spiritual practice to be able to make friends with the fear.
Yeah, we're trying, and you know, I think like, again, however you identify that voice that tells you to do something different with your life, or whether it's God or universe or whatever it is, I think when you've had other instances when you have trusted that despite the fear, it helps build up to like the really big ones too. Like every time that I've listened to that voice over my fear voice, and I've listened to like what deep down in my soul I want to, my life has been so much better. And so then when it's time for like the really big, really scary things, it's easier if you've had that practice of developing it. But even if you haven't, like you can choose to do that later too. Right. But yeah, I am grateful for having, it's been interesting, say support system. I've had, like my religious upbringing has really pushed the listen to God over everything else. And I don't totally vibe with that. I think my soul also knows, but I think ideally they come together, and my God and my soul will tell me where my path is supposed to go. Yeah. So it's been, a fun time being a human and learning how to figure that out. Because I think that's what being a human is learning who to listen to and filtering out all the crap that is out there. Right. Because I think most of the fear that comes into us is from other people. Yeah. It's not from us. And it's not from God. It's from every other voice out there.
Right. It's like learning how to, it's very interesting. Spiritual practice in terms of that surrender, right? Like it's part us showing up, and then it's part just totally surrendering. Yeah, just
let it go.
Yeah, and that's
so hard.
So hard. And that's why I always talk about like being present. Not that I try to make sure I'm present about things, but I think that is that presence, right? Like there are fleeting moments, as opposed to like the whole day I was present. Like no, we're not. You know, but yeah, I think that's really beautifully put.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I love this conversation. I hope that too. I think people will probably get a lot out of it.
If not, I did. So
yeah, me too. Okay. Anytime you want to come back and chat more.
Totally.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right.